right. Hello, everyone. Trying to make sure we got this timing down packed here on Real Grown Woman Talk. Happy New Year. Because I got two timers. So forgive me. Let me wait just a second. And all right. All right. I'm telling you, technology. Gotta love it. All right, everybody. Happy New Year. Welcome to Real Grown Woman Talk. I'm your host, Leslie Denman, and my real grown woman guest. First guest of the new year is none other than corporate leadership trainer and life coach, Miss Brittany Sherell. Brittany, welcome to the show. Welcome.
Thank you. Listen, that waiting music got me hyped now.
All right. Yes, baby. Yes. We hope you guys can hear us okay. Drop us some comments and let us know. We want you to engage as well. And this episode, we're talking about really just getting in position for purpose and success. And I know that this is the new year. And Brittany, she was I think this is a great follow-up conversation. I don't know if it was a week ago, a couple of days ago on your IG, you were talking about vision boards and all of those things and asking the question, do they really work and all of that? And I think that this is a great follow-up conversation to that. And I think we could just start right there. What are your thoughts? Just share a little bit, a recap of your IG live story when it comes to vision boards. Do they work? Do they not work? What's the deal?
So, not alone. Mm-hmm. I have this thing when I see these vision board parties because so many people are sucked into it, because vision board parties are fun. The issue with vision board parties and vision boards, period, is that a lot of times it tricks people into believing they're actually doing work. The vision, don't get me wrong, is a very important part of positioning yourself for massive success. But it's only one part. Like we as humans we naturally gravitate to the pretty part of stuff. Like we naturally gravitate towards when it's time to buy the furniture, but then when it's time to put it together, that's when the box sits over there in the corner for the next month or month and a half, because it was all cute and dandy when we were buying it. But when it's time to do the work, that's when we run. So when it comes to vision boards, the thing is, you cannot just operate off of a vision board alone. It takes vision and then it takes strategy to support that. So if you are a vision board type of person, great. Make sure you're supporting that with strategy, that you're taking the vision, you're setting goals so that you actually are able to take intentional action towards making that thing a reality. Because it's not just going to jump off the board and, become reality. A lot of people talk about manifesting right now. It's a really big buzzword, but sometimes it's taken out of context. Like manifesting something does not eliminate the element of work. It does not eliminate the element of setting yourself up to receive whatever it is that you say you want. Like, a lot of times people have this idea, I'm going to manifest this into my life. Like they're just going to think it up and it magically appears. That is not what manifesting is supposed to mean. Like manifesting means, okay, there's a vision. Like the vision is clear. Like God gives us a vision about how he wants our life to how he wants our life to flow. He wants us to have abundance. That's the vision part of it. But the work, we still got to do it. We still got to have faith. We still got to be obedient. We still have work to do in order for that to become a reality for us.
That is so true. And my word happened to be this year, manifest. That's my word. And you're so right. It's more than just sitting there. When you really understand what it means to manifest something, even as a believer, it's about activating your faith and then bringing your actions. It's a complete process. It's not just sitting there in some woo-woo position, all of these things that we can see. But those who truly understand the power of manifestation, and for us, the power of faith, which I call the same thing, it says faith without works is dead. So, I'm with you when it comes to vision boards. I'm always thinking, I'm just believing that they have a follow-up strategy and that, because and you kind of alluded to it, Some of us have a challenge doing the work. It's like we want it done for us. We want it easy. We want it overnight. And it's like that's not how we do and achieve success. You're not going to find anybody that's achieved a massive amount of success and been able to sustain it and don't get up every day, sometimes before while the rest of the world is asleep, and they don't put in the work. It's like when you are manifesting something, it's like your thought life comes into alignment with what it is you want, your speaking, your actions, your task. You're talking about your vision, your strategy, and from your strategy, you develop goals, and from those goals, you start executing. So it's all of that. And if you're really not willing to do that, then you're really not in a position to say that you want to achieve success in your life. It's like saying it and doing it are two different things.
Yeah, and Leslie, you said it best. Manifestation is about activating your faith and bring your actions into alignment with that faith. It's not faith just on its own. It's not just thinking something up on its own. It's about being intentional with your actions to bring them into alignment with the vision, which is the same thing with the vision boards. And so the thing that I always tell people is when you feel stuck, when you feel like you're unclear, you feel like you just keep on turning your wheels in the mud, you have to understand that you need three things or else you're going to stay stuck. You need vision, you need strategy, and then you need discipline to follow through on it. Because you can have the vision and know exactly what you want, but if you don't have a strategy for how to create that and make it a real thing, you're still stuck at step one. So you need the strategy to support it. Once you know how to achieve it, that's great too. But if you don't have the discipline to be consistent and follow through on doing that thing consistent, even when the things around you may not look like they're lining up the way you thought they would, even when the things around you kind of make you feel like I must be doing something wrong, even when people are being naysayers and depositing seeds of negativity in your ear, like you've got to be able to push past all of that and have the discipline to stay focused on what is in alignment with what your vision is and doing the work to continue executing the strategy. So you need vision, strategy, and discipline in order to achieve whatever it is that you want. And some people struggle with that discipline part. Some people struggle more with the strategy. And so you got to also think about what support do I need to leverage? You can't just sit there and say, I struggle with strategy. I know what I want, but I don't know how to do it. You have to adopt a solutions-based mindset. What is the solution in this situation? If I can't figure it out, who can? Who can I lock arms with? Yeah. Who's a coach that I can tap into to help take me to this next level? Because Leslie, I don't think a lot of people understand the power of coaching and what that can truly do.
Yes, girl, that was the next question I was going to segue into, because you are a life coach, I'm a life purpose coach, and we're both African American women, and we kind of had this conversation beforehand about how many of us in our coaching community do not understand the power of coaching and mentoring, and so we stay stuck trying to figure it out on our own. And I don't know what that is about. Let's go. So go ahead. You just went right into it.
Well, I'll be honest. I think I'll speak for my background. I can't speak for everybody, but based off of my background, coaching was like a luxury we didn't even know about. Like when I grew up, I didn't hear about a coach unless it was in the same breath as a sport. That was the only time coaching was discussed. I didn't understand the power of a coach until I was into my adult years. And the thing was, I think in our communities, there's just not a lot of talk about leveraging support, because when you think about it, so often we see our moms, our grandmas, our aunts and sisters and, friends, we see them. There's this narrative that a lot of Black women have adopted, that they have to be superwoman. They have to wear all the hats, or somehow you're less than. If you hire someone to clean your house, somehow you're less than. If you hire someone to help you take care of your children, somehow you're less than. If you have to ask your mom and them to watch your kids while you work on your degree, somehow you're less than. And so we've adopted the limiting belief. A lot of women, I'm not saying all, But a lot of women, especially in minority communities, have adopted this limiting belief that if I leverage support, I'm less than. Right. And so even though you see coaches, you see other people leveraging coaches, there's still that thing that kind of makes you draw back and say, I can do this on my own. I can figure it out. Because you always figure it out as high achievers. We figure stuff out. Mm-hmm. But what you don't realize is that you waste so much time through trial and error trying to figure it out on your own instead of leveraging the support. Like, because, you know, success leaves clues. What do the most successful people do? They leverage support. They don't try to do it all. Yeah. So if you say you truly want to be successful, being successful is not synonymous with being superwoman.
That is so good. And for those that are listening, I want you to just really think about what was just shared. Like, if you really are determined and have set the intention for success this year, do you have a coach? Do you have a mentor? Do you have accountability? Not somebody that you check in with every now and again, but somebody that you have invested in that is going to walk alongside you to hold you accountable to doing what it is that you said you want to do. I can tell you that superwoman mentality is one thing, and it holds us back. But even deeper than that is not the ignorance that we have. And I say this as lovingly as possible when it comes to success. Many of us have not really sit down to define what it is that we really want. We have been so focused on what's not going right in our life that we have not sit down and say, okay, this is a new year and I want something different, like for real. You know, we all can have those. I don't even do resolutions anymore. It's like this year I'm setting the intention on doing certain things in my life, because we just get stuck in this. It's kind of like you said, we got to do it all by ourselves. It's like we don't want people to know what we don't know. We want to try to figure it out. And then we buy into this false sense of what success looks like. I know some amazing life coaches. You happen to be looking at two of them right now. But because we're not standing in front of a 10-story house, in front of a Maserati, jumping off a plane in a powered suit and all of that, all this marketing that we see, we feel like we're not good at what we do. And it's like, girlfriend, success means different things to different people. And for me, waking up on purpose, knowing and operating in my gifts and calling is the greatest success I could ever have. You know, and that's my success. You know, I got a roof over my head. I got a car. I'm good in that regard, but it looks different for different people. But I think we have bought into this culture of this celebrity. We are a celebritized culture. And it's like we will follow a celebrity over the cliff, and you got somebody amazing right around the corner doing some amazing stuff, but we just overlook them. And that's just the real from where I'm sitting, because I've talked to enough women to be like, no, why won't you just reach out to them? I don't know. What you mean you don't know? Don't you need help? You know, sometimes we got to move beyond our own personal stuff and get the help and support that we need.
Right.
And that's just, you know, and it's sad in a way. And the reason we have these real grown woman talk is because I want to have these real grown woman talk, because each one of us needs to search our hearts and like you said, am I really seeking out the support that I need? And if not, why not? Am I willing to acknowledge it? Because it could be a little of what you said, could be a little of what I said, it could be some trauma, it could be some old language. I was talking earlier this year, New Year's Eve, I was driving home and God gave me the scripture about pouring new wine in the old wineskin. Like some of us still got old. We brought old wineskin into this new year. We're still hanging on to certain people and situations, and we just won't forgive and let go. And all of that impacts your whole entire spiritual and physical being. You can't get clear and hear from God when you have unforgiveness in your heart. But you don't know what they did to me. Okay, but God does. And are you really ready to let that go now? I mean, it's been 20 years. It's been 5 years. It's been 2 weeks. You know, and I'm not making light of it, but at some point we got to rise up as Black women and realize we got a generation of young Black women watching us.
Yeah, because I mean, when you hold on to those things, when you hold on to what somebody said, what they did to you, that unforgiveness, you're essentially giving them power over your life, because you're still operating from a place that's based off of how they treated you. You're still holding back in certain areas of your life because you're still worrying about what they said or how they treated you whenever it was. You've got to get your control back. You've got to snatch the pen back and rewrite your own narrative. It's so easy to focus on what other people are and are not doing, but it's pretty difficult to look at self and say, self, what should I be doing differently in this moment to make sure that I am showing up as the highest version of myself? Like, forget what everybody else is doing around me, because at the end of the day, I'm not going to have to answer for them. I'm going to have to answer for me. And so a lot of times it's, again, that whole accountability piece. And that's why it's important and why it can be so powerful to have a coach, because sometimes a coach can see things that you can't. They can see it in a way that you cannot. They can have the foresight to see things unfold before you do and help you avoid some pitfalls, help you avoid wasting money, wasting time of your life that you cannot get back. That is the power of coaching. And if you say that you're called to be a leader, you're called to do more in life, and you know these things, you're going to have to shed some weight. You're going to have to release some things, release some people, release some habits, because you've got to make room for the things that you say you want. So often people say, I want a loving relationship, but you're holding on to unforgiveness from somebody who cheated on you from 5 years ago. As long as that is taking up space in your life, you are not in a position to welcome what you say you want into your life in a way for it to stay. That's why good people may come in your life and then they leave. That's why great opportunities may come into your life and then they're gone. You don't have room for them to stay. Like, you're inviting them into a full place. So you've got to release that old stuff, release those limits and beliefs, those things that your parents said because they didn't have the capacity to see beyond what they saw growing up, those things that you believe to be true because society said, as a mom, you should be doing this, or as a dad, you should not be doing this. All of those things that cause you to shrink back and not show up fully as yourself, you've got to release that to make room for the things that you say you want in your life. Give it a home. Give those good things a home.
That is so good. We're talking about getting positioned for purpose and success. And I say, you cannot change what you do not acknowledge. And so my Real Grown Woman guest, Brittany, just dropped some nuggets there. We were talking about just the things that keep us stuck and understanding that if you want to get in position for success, one of the things you must do is you need to have someone in your life that's going to support you and yet hold you accountable. And you need to start investing in you beyond the exterior, but you, the person you are becoming each and every day. So many times we focus so much on what we're doing, we don't really stop and think about, who am I becoming in all of this? And many times we think about that at the end when we, almost crash and burn, or we're in that pit. And to me, it doesn't matter when it happens, as long as you get to that point, because we are all here on assignment. And as you said, Brittany, we're going to have to give account. And I don't think we really understand it as believers. We're going to give account for every action and inaction we did not take. It's like, you're not going to be able to go in there and be like, well, Lord, I mean, it was rough down there. It's like, okay, Jesus had it rougher than any of us, and he still managed to finish his course because he stayed focused and he kept the main thing the main thing. And so this year, the reason we're having this conversation is because it's like a reset for all of us. It's a second chance for us to get it right or to just take it to the next level. So don't sleep on this. Yes, 2020 was a boy. She had major attitude. And yeah, it's starting off a little rocky now. And people are talking about, Revelation and the end times. I'm like, if we really believe that, if we really as believers believe that, we would act differently. I mean, it's good to type it, but if we really believe that this was the end of time, we would all act a little bit differently. We wouldn't just be so, casual with it. And so for these next 360 something days we got left, I'm saying to all the Black women, let's arise. I said, this is the year of the Black woman. I just woke up and said that, and I didn't know. I was like, okay, I'm just going to take that as a word from the Lord. And I'm just, every Black woman I'm saying, like, honey, it's time to get in position. This could be the year that changes everything and sets you on the course for your destiny for real. This could be the year that you find your mate, your marriage get restored. It could be the year that you get that deal. It could be the year that whatever it is that you want. If you get in position, this is the year that's going to take. But as we said, you have to put in the work. There is a process to everything. Even when God created the heavens and earth, there was a process. He didn't just speak it all out. He had a process. It's 7 days for him, and he was very meticulous. So if God does that, we're going to have to do that as well.
Yeah, definitely.
There is an area that I want us to talk about when we are talking about position for success. And one of the things that I want to encourage us as business, so now I'm talking to my business owners, is so many times we start businesses and we are focused on making it happen. But I've heard this theme so many times, and I want us to kind of talk about this. We have to also prepare a customer service experience. I don't know if you heard this, Brittany, but as a woman, I don't fool with Black people because they customer service is ugly. They don't handle their business right. Have you heard that? Not to because hey, I'm Black. I'm not putting nobody on blast, but again, we just having real grown woman talk. Has that been?
Yeah.
Have you heard that?
Yes, and so much about that. I am glad you brought this up, though. There is like this hyper vigilant aggression towards Black-owned businesses when service is not up to par. Mind you, I am not discrediting that some of these Black-owned businesses, small businesses, may not have their customer service up to par. However, I also believe in the fact that whatever you focus on magnifies. So a lot of times we are just very skeptical of our own people for whatever reason. And so we go into these situations looking for something to go wrong. We go into these businesses, we do business with other women and men of color looking for something to go wrong. And so we take it and then we magnify it. A lot of times with the larger companies, we give them a chance to get it right. Like if you go to Walmart, if you go to Target, if you go to the mall and you get home and you realize something is not right, most of the time, if you're honest with yourself, most of the time you don't go straight to corporate on that store. You will probably go back to the store the next day or sometime that week and have a conversation with someone who works there and give them an opportunity to make it right. But it's like this cancel culture that's happening right now where people are so quick and so critical of everybody and not even extending the opportunity for them to get it right. I've even seen it with some of these small-owned businesses where people are condemning them because of the shipping, knowing full and doggone well, it doesn't matter if you're a small business or a big business. The postal system is under duress right now. And so we don't extend that grace. And the ones who need the support, who genuinely are not delivering in excellence, they need your feedback, but they need it in a loving way. Like, what is the intent of you airing them out? What's your intent behind it? Because you just airing them out and not giving them a chance to make it right communicates that you never really cared about them as a person. You never really cared about them growing as a brand. You never really cared about the mission of their business or what they may or may not have been exposed to. There is a way to communicate feedback in a way that's loving and in a way that can help grow and pour into other people. It's not about just like blasting everybody every time you have an unpleasant experience.
Yes. That is so true. I really believe that. And it's just the truth. And I wrestle with that. I have to search my own soul when it comes to certain things about buying Black and where this culture comes from. And you're right. We will give other people a chance. But as soon as something goes wrong with somebody in a Black business, we feel this need to rather than going to them first, we feel this need to blast them. This is why I don't fool with black people, and this is why I don't buy black. And let me tell you what happened. And to their, and on the other side of that, speaking to the business owners, because I had an experience, and I wanted to say something, but just based on the tonality of the conversation, I just decided not to say something. I was in need of something, and I reached out to them, and it was a weekend, but I reached out anyway, just reach out because somebody said reach out to this person, and they were busy doing something, but they said they would get back to me. And I was like, well, really, what I need is your pricing, your this and that, and whatever. And so I didn't hear from them. And so I followed up a couple of days later, and they was like, well, it's too late now. You should have followed up with me. And I was like, whoa, really? I should have followed up with you. I'm a customer. I was just trying to reach out because it's not my normal. I don't need, and that's the other side of it. I want to talk about as business owners when, the fortune, that's in the follow up and the follow through. And for business owners, for you to get positioned for success, my black owned businesses and those side hustles and everything else, your customer service experience has to be just as amazing as your product and service. And it shouldn't take you 3 and 4 days to respond. And when you respond, even if you know a person, don't respond, hey girl, what's up, boo? Just be very professional in what you're doing, because you don't know where that email or anything is going to end up. But even when you can't, it's like be open, because people are going to be frustrated and upset if they don't have a good experience. It doesn't matter, and yeah, we may be a little harder on you, but still, you can't go hood on. And I probably shouldn't even say it like that because I don't. But you know what I mean. You can't go off and feel like you get a free pass because we both know you still. I do have a certain level of expectation of professionalism from you, And I want to encourage all if you don't have a customer service framework, you don't have a process, that you need to get one. You need to put one in place, a way to respond to customers on certain things. Sit down and think about everything that could possibly go wrong with your product, from shipping to this to that. Like you said, once it leaves the store, I mean, UPS is or whoever is in their hands, but you can still. There's a way to say that without girl that they ain't got nothing to do with me.
Yeah,
but I bought it from you.
And I agree 100%. And that's where if you know that you're in that position, whether you're called, whether you adopted the position, whether you signed up for it or whatever, you have to shift your mindset from a business mindset to a brand mindset, because there's a distinct difference. Business is the technical side of things. Brand, that's what people feel. That's what people remember. And so regardless of whether you think you have a brand or not, you do. And so when you operate from a standpoint of how does this align with my brand, because I'll just go ahead and tell you, your brand is comprised of, it's an identity. It's a feeling, and it's an expectation. Like what will people expect to experience from you based on how you operate? What will people remember as a result of their experience with you? What are the things that are going to stick out about you? It's a feeling. And so when you recognize that you're in a position of a brand and not just a business, it doesn't matter if you're not at the forefront of all the social media posts with your face plastered all over. Anything your name is attached to is also attached to your brand. Even if you have someone on your team who fumbles the ball, guess what? That's a part of your brand. And as a leader, you have to take ownership. And so I agree 100%. When you're building out your business processes, you need to think about, how can I create an experience that aligns with what I want people to feel as a result of encountering me or some extension of me. Whether you reach me on my podcast, whether you read my book, whether you have coaching with me, whether you hear me speak, you are going to feel some of the same things regardless of what platform you encounter me on. And that's because that's a part of my brand. That's a part of who I am. And that's what I want you to be able to feel as a result of working with me. And so it's about accountability and really just owning that, like it's easy to point out what other people are doing wrong, but you have to think about it. when things happen, let's say Starbucks, when the Black Lives Matter movement was going on, I remember there were some incidents that happened at Starbucks at certain locations. Well, guess what? Those specific employees were not the ones who were on in the media networks. The CEO was. So if you are going to operate in a CEO position, you've got to make CEO moves, baby. Like, you can't be hiding behind the shadows. You can't run from adversity. You've got to be able to take those things head on, because let me tell you, when the going gets tough and when things get rough, people are going to remember whether you stood or if you ran.
Yes, that is so true. We're talking about being positioned for purpose and success this year. We're talking about having the power and importance of having a mentor and a coach, getting rid of all of the unforgiveness in your heart, acknowledging where you are, what you need. And then for business owners, just focusing this year on creating a unique customer experience. I know brands that thrive just based on the customer service experience. Their product is not the best, but because they create such an experience, people feel like I'm part of this brand. Like, they take it personally. And that's what you want. It's competitive out here. And, just because you're a side hustle and thinking that it's not important, it's very important. The goal is not to have it a side hustle forever. At some point, you're going to establish this brand to be top of mind. And it's the things that you do right now that make the difference. And so this year, we want you to get in position to succeed. And it looks different from everyone. But you can't just, cast a vision and not do the work. It needs to be purpose driven, in alignment with the bigger vision for your life. And as believers, we know that it's about the kingdom. Now, I'm going to ask you this, Brittany, speaking of the kingdom, have you found it challenging to honor your faith in your work?
Baby, no, ma'am. No, ma'am. Um, I'll say this: when I first got started, I didn't know if it was deemed appropriate or not, but I knew how much I depended on my faith and my God. And so I was like, they just gonna get all of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta understand that when you are called to a certain place, you're gonna be protected. Right. Okay. Like, there are certain things that, of course, I have to be mindful if it's a speaking engagement and I'm going into different organizations, because I have to be, in alignment with their policies and stuff. I don't want to overstep in that way. But on my personal platforms, you getting this Jesus, okay? Because I cannot be a go-getter without God. I mean, I can, but I ain't gonna get too far. But I think that there is a lot of confusion around, should I, it's just like a tendency to want to tiptoe around it. But it's something that I did not do as openly when I first started. But I transitioned and was like, you know what? I feel like I am limiting my impact, because I'm not y'all getting bits and pieces of me. Yes. And in order for me to truly change your life, I got to give you the whole thing. Like, I don't want nobody cutting corners with me. So I'm not going to cut corners with y'all. And so you have to understand that whatever is important to you, whether it's your faith, whether it's your family, whatever it is, your values, you got to be comfortable with giving all of you, or else you're showing up as somebody that you're not. And you're cheating people out of a real life transformation, because they only getting bits and pieces of you. Give them the whole thing. And the people who are supposed to be there, they're going to hear your voice. They can finally recognize that you're the person who's called to guide them from where they are to where they're trying to be. Because right now, like, if you're not fully showing up, if you're not fully owning your faith, folks confused. Like, they hear you and they like, I kind of think this might be my person. I think she might be the solution I need, but I don't know. Like, it ain't really clicking. And so you got to understand, you got to be able to show up fully as your whole self, so that the people you're called to serve can easily identify you. When you speak, they'll be like, that's my person. Yes, for sure.
Yes. And that is so true, because I think that we forget sometimes that as believers and in the kingdom, our goal is to represent and also resemble the kingdom. And what that means is Jesus had disciples. Honey, we have disciples. If we're doing, like you said, if we're speaking our truth and we are honoring our faith and we are sharing the gospel, whether you're coaching the gospel, teaching the gospel, manufacturing the gospel, whatever you're doing, if you're a believer, the gospel should be in there somewhere. And the people, the sheep that you have been called to serve, they're going to recognize your voice. Everybody else doesn't matter. And I think we focus so much on everybody else that we do disservice to the people, and they call them a tribe or whatever. But it's those individuals that we should really be focusing on. Because I know when I got started, that was a challenge. And I am not ashamed to admit that. I was young and green, and I was going to the gurus, and they were, oh, Leslie, no, you can't do that. You're going to offend people and all of that. But I never found my rhythm and my groove. I was kind of hitting. It's like you were saying, they didn't get the best of me. They got some good stuff. But for what I knew I could deliver, I couldn't, because I was getting all of my downloads. Because see, here's the thing. When you're operating in purpose, it's really not you operating anyway. It's the Holy Spirit guiding you and giving you, it takes over. It's kind of like, I don't know if this happened to you, but honey, I've been speaking and people called me, girl, that was good. And I literally do not remember what I said. It's like the Holy Spirit literally I just opened up my mouth and it was like, just gave it to me. And I was thinking to myself, okay, I've had conversations. That ever happened to you?
Yes, it happened just a few weeks ago. Matter of fact, that reminded me, I need to reach out to them and ask them for the recording just so I can go back and take notes on what did I say. Yes. Because you're right, it happened like tonight even. I had a download. It didn't happen on the spot, but right before we got on, like God gave me a five-part framework that I want to share with your people. That's all about positioning yourself for purpose, but not just, sometimes when we think about leadership and positioning ourselves, it's more than just a position. It's a posture. Like, you can be in position, but it also requires a certain posture, and it's a posture of power. And so like right before I got on, he gave me a download for a 5-step power posture to position yourself for a purpose. So yeah, it happens.
I love
just
that.
Literally, it's almost like an out of body experience. It's like you shut off and it just flows.
And if you are operating business and we're talking Christian, but whatever faith you operate in, if you're not allowing that faith to rise up and do the work, then honey, you might need to check your connection, because you are working too hard. I promise you. And you were talking about your power posture in the Success Sister Inner Circle. We call it our power pose, because you're right. You have to, honey, there is a position you got to be in. And I'm always saying, stand in your personal power, baby. You're giving your power away, and I keep saying it because I'm hoping that when they're out of my presence and stuff, when it happens, they will hear my voice. Get in position. You're not in your power stand, because when you are in your power stand, people respond to you differently. People don't just approach you with everything, and then just being able to, how can I say, handle your business. It's like the aura when you get in your power pose, things change. It's like, girl, you start commanding things, speaking differently, thinking differently, because even in that, you are still taking on what I say. I'm a member of Kingdom Worship and Restoration Legacy Church, honey. We are all about being in position and being in position for war. We understand that we are soldiers, but we represent the kingdom. We know that our words have power. And so when we speak, we expect things to happen. It's not like we're not, oh girl, I hope. Oh, no. When I speak, I expect things to happen. You know who my dad is?
Okay. Like my name hold weight, baby. Okay. Like, y'all might be running and hiding, but my name hold weight. Like, I got some connections that are real high. So yeah, like, it's activating that CEO mindset. You've got to understand, you've got to recognize and own the power that you have. And so often I think we have this false humility, like, I'm gonna just play it small, like I'm gonna just try to play it in the background. I'll hype everybody else up. but you're being called to something higher. When you hide in the folks you're called to can't see you, they can't find you. And so you're not going to ever be fully fulfilled until you come from behind the curtain. You're being called from behind the curtain, and you've got to understand that there are people literally waiting for you to show up. Yes. And you're hiding behind the curtain.
Girl, and like, when you come out, and tell them when you come out, don't come out shaking and looking around and I really ain't supposed to be here, baby. You better come out waiting on your applause, waiting on the light to shine and honey. But anyway, go ahead. I was feeling that what you said, girl.
Yes, I mean, if we're made in the image and likeness of God, what's small about Him? Okay. I'll wait, because there ain't nothing small about Him. There's nothing timid about Him. So when those feelings arise, when those thoughts pop up in your head about I should just play in the background, you've got to recognize that that's not in alignment with who God called you to be. Yes. Because He called you to be in His likeness, and He ain't about small stuff. Everything about Him is abundant.
Yes,
it's grand. And so you've got to be able to recognize when those thoughts are not in alignment with who you are, because that ain't who you are, baby. Yes. That planning in the background, that's not who you really are. That's who you've been led to believe you are, so that it can distract you from showing up as who you are actually called to be. So you've got to shake that, and if you don't know how, you've got to link up with some folks that can get you there.
Yes. But girl, let me hear about this power pose. I want to hear about it. Talk to me.
Listen, you know it had to be divine. I didn't even know y'all had a power.
Yes, we got our power pose, baby. Yes, we do.
You know it. So the 5-step framework is the word power. P stands for plan for the life you're called to. So if you're called to a certain life, you got to plan for it. You can't just expect it to roll itself out and just handle itself on its own. You've got to do some planning. And so what does that look like? This is what you can do right now. Ask yourself, what is the vision? Because if you know that you're called to a certain life, you've got to have some type of vision. And if you don't have a vision, it's because you have clutter. So figure out what you need to release in your mind to make space so that you can have the capacity to hold the vision. So what is the vision? Ask yourself, who do I have to become? Because you're called to a certain life, but a lot of times we want more. We want to be able to access more. You've got to become more, and you can't skip that part. So who do you have to become? If you say you want to work out every day, and you want to work out 3 times a week, you got a tight schedule, you might have to become a morning person, because you might have to start getting up earlier and getting your workout in before you start work for the day, whether you're working at a job or working in your business. So who do you have to become? What will it take to get there? What tangible resources do you need? If you are, I'll stick with a health journey. If you need to meal prep, what will it take to get there? You're probably going to need some meal prep containers. If it's business, you may need some type of course about how to market or how to deliver an outstanding customer experience. So what resources do you need to get there? And then who will it take to accelerate my growth? Sometimes we plan out the what, we plan out the how, but we don't plan out who. Like, go ahead and plan who you need, because the biggest misconception is that you're called to do it alone. Right. God leveraged His disciples. He leveraged His support system to get things done while He was on the earth, and even now. Even though His Spirit is with us, like, He is not physically here, and He's leveraging His people to get His work done. So you adopting a likeness of Christ and thinking, well, we'll never be able to think like Him, but adopting His likeness, you need to leverage support. You need to think about, who can I link arms with to get this done? Who's a coach that can help me not waste another 3 years trying to figure this thing out? Having me start and restart. Somebody that can say, all right, Crystal, Kelly, Keisha, Tim, David, this is where you are. These are some strategies. Let's get it done together and check in with you. So who do you need? If you're working out, you might need a trainer. Plan for that. Go ahead and start researching. Like, how much will I need to plan to invest in a trainer? think about these things ahead of time. Like that's how you position yourself in a power pose. I'll go ahead and use y'all's term for that.
Yeah.
Oh, optimize your lifestyle. Assess your routines. Like, what are your morning or night routines? Assess your systems. This is business and in family, in your regular lifestyle. Like, assess your systems. Do you need a social media scheduler? What are your payment processes? You don't need folks cash apping you, okay? Let's go ahead and let's go ahead and nip that in the bud. You don't need folks cash apping you for business matters. Okay, so go ahead and figure out what payment processors you're going to use. If you already have payment processors, assess them anyway. See if you need to research some other ones. See if there are some better options out there. Email providers, those kinds of things. Assess your support system. What tasks do I need to delegate so that I can show up and operate in my zone of genius? Like, do I need to get a virtual assistant that can do things for me for 2 or 3 hours a week? Just answering emails or just responding to social media DMs. Like, what are some things that are distracting me from being able to operate in my zone of genius that I can outsource? Also thinking about, do I need to call my aunt who always told me she'll be happy to keep my kids whenever I need her to? Tap into your support system. A lot of times the things we say we struggle with, we already connected to the solution. We just choose not to use it. Yeah. So assess your support system. W is weed out distractions. Ooh. What are potential distractions? Ask yourself that now. Like, what are the potential distractions? Do you have a sister who always calls when it's time for you to work on your business? Do you have, a favorite TV show that comes on when you know you blocked out your time to do your devotionals or whatever it might be? Go ahead and identify what your potential distractions are. And then map out how you will handle it. What will you put in place to help manage those distractions, to deter those distractions, to counter those distractions? And who can I leverage for support and accountability? Because one thing I'll say is that when you are elevating, when you are going to a new level, when you're in transition and you're trying to set and enforce boundaries, you're in a very vulnerable position. And so you need to go ahead and think about who you can leverage for support and accountability, because it's going to get hard to tell some folks no. So you need somebody you can check in with who can say, oh, no, ma'am, remember, you're being called a little higher. You need to call them back and tell them, no, ma'am. You need somebody to help you in this time because you're in a vulnerable space. E, execute with excellence. Get clear on the difference between excellence and perfectionism. Excellence means that you're delivering high value. Perfectionism means that you have an emphasis on vanity. You're trying to make it pretty, and it doesn't need to be pretty, and it doesn't need to be perfect to serve its purpose. So that's what you need to ask yourself. Is this perfectionism or is it purpose? And R, revise as you go. When will you build in checkpoints to assess your progress? What will you measure? Are you going to measure tangible results? Are you going to measure how well you were consistent with taking action? Or what will that look like? And then how will you collect data? Are you, it all depends on what it is that you're measuring. It might be a personal journal where you go back and you're able to assess how your emotions were on certain days. It might be marketing data, how many sales you made on each day. Did you make more sales doing live videos or sending particular types of emails? So figure out what it is that you're going to be measuring so that you can adopt a power pose.
Yes. That is so good. That I mean, you just kind of summed up the success sisters in a circle. That's what we really focus on. Because many people, when they get in business, they're so focused on like the outcome that they think. Like, I'm gonna start this business, I'm gonna get these orders. It's like, but honey, you know how many businesses fail within the first 5 years? Because they're not doing those things. And before you can, everything is created twice. It's created first in the mind, and then it's created out in the world. So you got to really think it all the way through in your mind. And one of the things we don't like to do, and I dare say, and I know because I hear from my client, we don't like to think it all the way through. It's like we get to a certain point and that's as far as we can see. And it's like, that's why you have to have your support systems and your mentors and your coaches, some people who've been there and done that, because they can help you see you looking down the road, but we know there's a corner right there that's something gonna jump out and get you if you're not prepared for it. And you should know your business inside and out. You can't stand in your power pose and somebody asks you how many sales you had last year, and you, oh, girl, a lot. Oh, you gotta have some data. It don't have to be a lot. You can. It may not be a million in sales, honey. It may be I made $1,000. I had, but knowing what your packages and services are, I got know where your money is coming from. It was so much good stuff in there because I'm like, yes, that's what we're talking about. Because when you are really in your power pose, honey, you are unstoppable. That means you are in your rhythm, you're in your zone of genius, and you are handling your business. And when you're handling your business, it's easier to say no. No, baby, I'm not gonna be able to do that. You ain't gotta look at you, because I always say, don't accept not another invitation without going home, looking at your calendar and thinking about it. Because sometimes we gotta remind ourselves, you know what, now I have the time to do this, but is this gonna move my vision forward? Is this gonna really help me? Or is this more people pleasing that I'm doing so that they won't get mad at me or think that I'm not supporting them? All of that. Because when I first got started, honey, I was all over DFW. I was trying to show up and support everybody and all of that. And it's like you just wear yourself out, and then you come back and look at your business and it's not even where it needs to be. And so
you're burnt out. You're burnt out. You don't even. Now you can't even show up for the people you're supposed to be showing up for.
Right.
Even the ones you're trying to show up for, even if they have communities of folks, when you show up, you've been stretched so thin that you're still not showing up in excellence. You're not giving them the absolute best, the high value that you're called to deliver. So you end up running in circles. Some stuff is you got to pay attention, because some stuff looks like it's the right thing to do. It looks like it's in alignment with what you're supposed to be doing right now, and it's really a distraction. Yes. And so again, that is super important for you to be intentional about what you say yes to, and be firm about what you say no to, because when you have a firm no, people value your yes so much more, because they're like, oh yeah, Boo don't say yes to everything. So I'm gonna value her time. I'm gonna respect her time. We're gonna do this thing. We're gonna do it for real. But when you say yes to everybody and every little thing, folks don't respect it anymore. Like there's no level of authority there. There's no you gotta teach folks how to treat you. And so when you stretch yourself so thin like that, it weakens your power pose. I'll say it that way.
And we, we're talking about, getting positioned for purpose and success with my Real Grown Woman Talk guest, corporate leader, trainer, and coach, Brittany Sherell. And we are having such a great conversation. When I bring these ladies on, we really can talk forever. But we are going to close out with this, and then I'm going to ask you a couple of more things, quick things. But you brought up something else I want us getting positioned for purpose and success, and you brought it up. This is how I know this is a divine conversation, because it's just flowing. We're going to talk about this whole thing about time. And by time, I mean showing up on time. Because when you are late, what you're basically saying, you're saying, I don't respect the other person's time. I don't care what the excuse is, what the reason is. When you are showing up late, you're saying my time is more valuable than your time. And that's just not the way that we need to operate in business. We always say God is an on-time God. Well, if we are truly representing the kingdom, this whole year, I'm like, y'all, we are supposed to represent and resemble. So showing up, scheduling an appointment, and again, overstretching yourself because you want to please everybody. And then you're showing up late, you really don't want to be there. You're tired, you're overwhelmed, or you're scheduling business meeting. You're not scheduling enough time for traffic and all of that. So you're showing up late, sending texts, en route. If other people can do what they need to do to get there on time, don't you think you need to do the same? So maybe this year your getting position is that, you know what, this year my intention is to be, even if it's not 50%, do better, increase my on time rate by 50%. to 75. But really understand that when people give you, that's something you can't get back. And I don't think we understand that. And people who are really successful, I know folks, if you 5 minutes, if you walking in on time, they think you late, honey. They finna go. And don't be 5 minutes late. Oh, they gone. But it's like we've become acceptable with this CPT time, that's acceptable. And we want to crush that myth as well, that we're going to do better this year by being on time. And that happens when we really just say, okay, if I'm going to say yes to this, let me position everything in my life that week, that day to honor that yes. So that don't mean you can't say you going to be somewhere at 7 knowing that you get off work at 5. You already late. You take an hour and a half to 2 hours for a black woman to get ready. Honey, we got to make up hair, shoe. Then we got to take the dress off again because that don't look right. Change the shoe. Honey, we 2 hours. So 5 o'clock, you already late. If you're supposed to be there at 7, honey, you should be start getting ready about 2, 3 o'clock. That's just the real. Depending on how far you got to go with traffic, but that's enough. But I wanted to put that in there because that is so important as well. I've been places where people show up 20, 30 minutes late. You got to wait on them and all this. And I'm just like, so you just disrespecting people's time. There's no other way. And it's like whatever you're doing is more important than what we're doing or what I'm doing. And I don't know. I hope you're not a late person where I feel like I'm just talking about you, but I got a feeling you're not a late person. But
I honestly used to struggle with it, and it was because that was how I was raised. Like my whole family was just known to be late. Mm-hmm. Like it was just a thing. If there was an event and my family was invited, mm-hmm. people would like automatically build in an hour because they like, child, y'all know.
Okay.
And so like I grew up like, oh, okay, so this is just who we are. Mm-hmm. But you've got to position yourself to be around people who are in different spaces than you, because if you stay in the same environment where everybody's doing the same thing and they're operating the same way, you'll find yourself just adopting the same thing and believing those things to be true for you. That ain't who I was. Like once I got to a space where I realized, wait a minute, no, I'm not just laying down and taking this, because if you pay attention to yourself. So I'll say this, when you're late, sometimes it's because you just adopted limiting beliefs about who you are based off of how other people around you have operated. Or it can also be an indicator that you don't respect yourself. Mm-hmm. And here's why. We just talked about a brand. You have a brand, whether you think you have one or not. And so when you are late, people remember that.
Yes.
When you are late, that creates a certain feeling. When you are late, that establishes a certain expectation about who you are and how you operate.
Yes.
And I don't know about you, but I don't want anything associated with my brand that's anything less than excellence. Yes. And there's nothing excellent about being late. So you've got to understand that when you show up on time, when you show up early, that's an indicator of your level of respect for yourself. Forget what it means for the other people, because of course it is like disrespecting other people's time. I always tell people I believe in being a good steward of your time. If I host a meeting or I host something that requires other people's time, if I told you were coming to get X, Y, Z, baby, that's what you get in, and I'm gonna send you on your way. And a lot of that came from my granddaddy. He was a preacher, and Papa used to preach for like a good 15 minutes.
Okay. Go ahead, dear Papa.
Okay. We used to be so excited when it was Papa Sunday to preach, because we knew we were going to be in church all day. Yeah. But he would always say it doesn't take all day to get a message across.
That is
so with that being said, you've got to understand that you've got to be mindful of not only how you make other people feel, but how you make yourself feel. Because if you really pay attention to yourself, being late probably doesn't feel good. And that's what made me change my ways. Because I started being
attitude get mad. You walking in mad because you know they mad, so you try to get mad first. I mean, it's just a mess.
I mean, you walking down the hall, so you walk in the room, getting your mad face together, like I'm a little mad when I walk in here, and like you frustrated, you anxious the whole time you driving there. You like, oh my gosh, I wish this car get out the way. knowing good and doggone well you were already 15 minutes late before you left the house. It was not their fault. So you got to be in tune with how it makes you feel first before you can even adopt the level of respect to start respecting other people's time.
Yes. And I know that to be true because in our family, we had some that was just, always late. And we, and we just started addressing that, and I'm just so proud of them because they've made such great strides to be on time. It's like it's come to the top of their mind. We no longer give them that escape. It's like, this is the level of expectation. We gonna be on time. And it's not difficult again, but it's like when you really start paying attention, and that's good because I was talking about it from the other person's perspective, but really thinking about how it makes you feel, honey. You're stressed out, you're driving with road rage, like you said, you're walking down the hall. Let me get my meme so they won't ask me a bunch of questions and stuff.
So how are you showing up in your power pose? Like you've already stacked the odds against you before you even walk into the room because you said like you did this to yourself. Yes. And now you're going in here and you're still not giving these folks the best of you because of something you had control over.
Yes.
It's not even on anybody else. It's really on you.
I mean, you can't even do a good presentation. You wonder, if I'm finna get rolled up, if I'm finna get fired, and they gonna say something, let me dodge them. And it's just a whole bunch to be going on in your mind when you do that. It's like, okay,
can I tell them about being stuck in traffic and
Yes. Girl, I have
nor the capacity to be doing that. So cut it out. Like seriously, take some time if you struggle with being late. With love, I'm saying take some time and ask yourself, like, think about the last time you were late, which was probably today. Because when you adopt that late lifestyle, it tends to spill over like into your daily practice. Yeah, so ask yourself, how did it really make me feel? How did I really feel? What were the things that I felt? What were the emotions that came up for me? Because you'll realize being late, it feels icky. It's not something you actually want to continue and perpetuate in your life or your business because time is the one form of currency we're all forced to spend and we can never earn it back. So how are you spending your time? Make sure you spend it wisely because first of all, you don't have control over how much more of it you have. So the best way to honor God is to maximize what you do have at your expense right now. Like, what are you doing with your time right now to honor God? Because being late, playing around with your time, playing around with other folks' time, that's not representative of Him. And that's not a great way to honor Him with your time.
Right. I love it. Thank you all so much for those that are tuned in to Real Grown Woman Talk with my Real Grown Woman guest, Ms. Brittany Sherell. We are talking about getting positioned for purpose and success. And I hope that you have just enjoyed this conversation. And Brittany, how can people, I've shared your Facebook and your Instagram. Are those the best ways to get in contact with you, to follow and connect with you? Is there another platform you want to add?
Yeah, I spend a lot of time on Instagram and Facebook. So Facebook or Instagram or BrittanySherell.com if you want to learn more about how I might be able to serve you.
Okay. And then you do have TEDx, right? You got a TED Talk coming up?
Yes. It's tentatively scheduled for March. It was actually supposed to be in the fall, but it got rescheduled. So I'm excited about that.
That is amazing. Great. Best of luck to you. Thank you so much. Thank you, LaRonda. Thank you, Bobby. They say it's a great show. And I want us this year to really just get in position for real, for purpose and success. It's one thing to say you want to be successful, but we got to do what it takes to be successful. And, our whole motto is just take the next best step. And if you are looking for a place to get in your power pose, check out and you are a woman, check out the Success Sisters Inner Circle at grownblackwomansuccess.com. Brittany, before we go, I got a couple of questions for you. I want to know how you rock your grown black womanness. So I'm going to ask you a couple of questions and you tell me how you rocking it. Okay. Stiletto, wedges, or tennis shoes?
Wedges.
Okay. All right.
Used to be stilettos, but I'm in the wedges crew now.
Okay. All right. So we got the power suit, the dress, or the jeans?
Dress.
Okay. All right. Matte, glossy, or lip gloss? I mean,
Lip
matte, glossy, or shiny? Lip gloss. Okay. All right. Got the lip gloss with the dreads and the wedges. Okay. Natural, more of a natural look. Okay.
that's me.
All right. So you have had a long but productive week. The weekend is gonna come up, and you have a choice to make. What type of way are you gonna rock the weekend? Are you just gonna be you in the remote? Is it gonna be you and your boo, you and your girls, or you just down for whatever?
I'm gonna say none of the above.
Oh, what you doing, girl? What are you doing?
It's gonna be me and a book
Okay, all right.
and some coffee.
Okay, I got you. I got you. All right. Again, I have certainly enjoyed you, Miss Brittany. Are there any parting words that you want to share with our viewing audience?
I just want to say thank you, Leslie, for having me. I truly enjoyed this, and I really hope that I was able to offer some value and help somebody get unstuck and take some action. And I want to encourage anybody who's listening, if you have ideas, if you have goals, take action. Like, you were not given that vision by mistake. You were not given that vision just on a fluke or on the fly. You were given that vision because there's nobody else in this world that can execute it like you. And so don't even give somebody else the opportunity to take it and run with it and not do as good of a job as you can. Execute the vision.
All right. I love it. Thank you guys so much again for tuning in to Real Grown Woman Talk. Feel free to share out to other real grown women that you know. And until our next conversation, stay bold, stay beautiful, and stay blessed. Good night, everyone.